Welcome to day 22 of our sewing class. If you are just coming across this video, check my page, my YouTube page for day 1 to day 21. This is day 22, and in today's class we'll be learning about sleeves. And I think this is the last thing I'll be teaching before we start sewing properly. So whatever I want to teach now will be during the course of our sewing project. And I want to say thank you for those that have been following this lesson from day 1. All right, let's talk about sleeves. We should know what sleeve is. We have different type of sleeves, so I will introduce the different type, the common ones. It's more than this, but the common ones. This one is what we call a cold shoulder. You see this cold shoulder, it's showing a part of your arm. So I think you know when it's cold and you wear something like this, your arm will be cold. Maybe that's where it got its name from. I don't know, but that's cold shoulder. The next one is a bishop sleeve. Bishop sleeve is more like it is gathered at the tip. It's big at the tip. It's slim up and big at the tip. The next one is a cap sleeve. Cap sleeve is short, just a very short. It covers just a tiny part of your arm. The next one is a bell sleeve. Bell sleeve is a slim up but wide down. Unlike bishop sleeve that is gathered, this one is left like that. So it has this wideness at the lower part. That is bell sleeve. The next one is angel sleeve. When you wear this type of sleeve, you truly look like an angel. You see, it's very big. So this type of sleeve, it's called an angel sleeve. Then raglan sleeve. This type of sleeve, when you look at it, it starts from the neck line. I don't know if you can see it. Let me show you. Did you see where it is sewn? So it cuts the neckline. So that is a raglan kind of sleeve. It can be long, it can be short. All right. The next type of sleeve I will be talking about is dorman sleeve and a kimono sleeve. These sleeves they can be kind of confusing because they look alike. What the idea behind the sleeve is, it is cut together. You cut it together with your blouse or your gown, depending on what you want to, where you want the sleeve to be. It can be on a blouse, it can be on a gown. Now let me tell you the difference. The difference comes in the shape. The kimono is squared and it is somehow short sometimes, but it has this square effect. While the dorman it starts wide from your armpit, it is wide, but it is going towards your arm, towards your cuff, it becomes tight, it becomes narrow. So that's the main difference, kimono and dorman. The next sleeve we'll talk about is leg of mutton. This is it's very wide at the upper part. You know, it is exaggerated at that part, but the lower part is slim. It is fitted at the lower part. That is leg of mutton. The next one is tulip sleeve, or you call it pelta. This looks more like a flower, like two flower covering each other. It overlap each other. That is a pelta sleeve. Now the next one is a puffed sleeve. Puffed sleeve is not as exaggerated as a leg of mutton, but it has a novel pleat. It has to be pleated at the upper part. Now a slit sleeve is opened. It shows an opening. Did you see it? That is a slit sleeve. Then we have a ruffled sleeve. You should know what ruffled means by now. Any sleeve that is gathered or pleated, that is full. The last sleeve I'll be talking about is a cape sleeve. There are other type of sleeves. As you go in your sewing journey, you will learn the other different type of sleeves. This is just the common ones that I just feel I should let you know. All right, the next thing is let's talk about sleeve, the anatomy of sleeve. We have what we call the cap height. That is this part I'm showing with this yellow mark. That is the cap height. And also we have the bicep. You see this part is the bicep. All right, let me explain sleeve to you. This is where your sleeve will be. And for now, this is like a short sleeve. You see this part I'm touching, that is where your joining is supposed to be, except you are sewing a coat or a jacket. The sleeve is slightly different. Now you see the armhole and this part, you see that part, the upper part is where the cap height will be. That is where the cap height will be. And that part I'm showing is where the biceps will be, because that is supposed to be the largest part of my arm. And as you know that our hand only moves to the front like this, the way I'm doing, it doesn't go to the back. So because of that front, we don't need too much excess at that point. So on your clothes or on your pattern, you need to reduce that front. It doesn't move to the back. So you don't need to reduce at the back, but at the front, because of you don't need too much excess. So you need to remove from your pattern. I will show you how to do the reduction whenever you are sewing, so that you will not have too much material at that part, so that you don't need, because your hand is to the front, your hand comes to the front. I'll show you how to do that adjustment on the pattern very soon. Alright, so basically that is all to your sleeve. It now depends on the length of the sleeve, whether it is long sleeve, it is a 3/4, it is short sleeve. You should know by now how to measure your sleeve. That is the armhole I'm trying to show you. And that is the biceps, the fattest part of my arm. Alright, let's talk about sleeve length. We have the cap, the short, the elbow, the 3/4, the bracelet, the long, and if it is more than where the long is, we call it extended. So that is the name of sleeve based on the length. Now let's go to our pattern. Let's try to draft a sleeve. Alright, I'll be bringing this pattern. We drafted this pattern a few days ago. So the only difference is I removed the seam allowance. So I already cut off the seam allowance on this pattern. So this is just my pattern using my exact measurements without a seam allowance. Now what I'll do is I'll put the armhole of the front and the back together. But before I do that, let me do the adjustments. Like I told you that you need to do an adjustment to the front pattern. So I will measure my armhole length, which is 8, half of it is 4. That is where I just measured. And I will come in by half of an inch, 0.5 inches. I'll come in by 0.5 inches, and I will try to connect from the shoulder to that 0.5. At this point, if you can't use your hand, you need a curve. So I'll connect it, and I'll connect it to the armhole. So this 0.5 that I'll cut it off, that is the part, I was explaining to you that our arm comes only to the front. So we need to reduce some clothes or some material at that point, so that we will not have too much fold. And we don't need to do that to the back. So this is the difference, or this is something you need to take note of when you are sewing a cloth that has you need to attach your sleeve to either your dress or your blouse. So for the front pattern, you cut off 0.5 inches. Cut it off to accommodate that part. I hope you understand. Okay, so I'm done. The next thing is if you have your armhole measurements, you might not need to do this you might not need to measure around. You can just do your calculation without putting your pattern together or your clothes together like this. But I just want to show you from the beginning what to do. So I'll be measuring my armhole on this pattern. I'll be measuring it. Whatever is the measurement, I will multiply it by 75%. That means whatever is your measurement, you multiply it by 75%, and 75% is the same thing as 0.75. What I measured here now is 17, so I'll measure it by, sorry, I was supposed to write 75%. I mistakenly wrote 80%, but it's supposed to be multiplied by 0.75, which is 75%. So I realized the mistake, that's why I cancelled it. Is 75%. Now the next thing is to measure the height of that armhole. So I'm trying to use my ruler to gauge it so that I can know where the shoulder starts from. My first measurement is to calculate my bicep. Why this measurement, which is the height of that armhole, I'll multiply it by 80%. That is what will give me my cap height. You should know what cap height is, but don't worry, as I draft you, I will still explain. Let me just transfer that measurement to this pattern. 17 inches times 0.75% is the same thing as 17 times 0.75, which is whatever it will give me. I think it will give me 12.75. I'm done with the measurements at this point. I didn't know it was not recording when I was doing the calculation. Alright, so this is what the measurements will be used for. The first one is for bicep, while the second one is for my cap height. Alright, let me show you how to draft a basic pattern for your sleeve. The first thing is to measure the length of your sleeve, whatever the length will be. This length, the length I'm using is 22, so I want to get the center of that my pattern paper. Once I'm done getting the center, I will open up the pattern paper, and this is the measurement. My cap height is 6 inches, so I'll be measuring 6 inches. But before I measure the 6 inches, let me draw my center line. That will be the center line for this sleeve. Now I'll measure my 6 inches, which is the cap height. So whatever is yours, you should, the calculation I use is what you are going to use. This is the simplest way for a beginner to draft a sleeve. So I'll just draw a line like this. I'll draw this line, and now on this line I will measure, you know, my bicep is 12.75 inches, so half of it, that is half of the 12.75, I'll measure it to the right and I'll measure it to the left so that I can have like a box. So I'll just draw it at the right side and at the left side so that I can have a box. Alright, now this my new box, I will divide it again so that I will divide this side into two equal halves, and the other side too into two. I hope it makes sense. I hope you understand what I'm doing. It's simple, so if you don't get it the first time, just watch the video again until you are able to get it. And once you can master these techniques of sleeve, you can always do it. You can do it directly on your fabric. You don't have to use pattern every time if you're not a pattern person. Now let me label this sleeve. I have the back and the front. Now this part, I will divide it into 3 and I will mark 2/3. The cap height that I use is 6, so at that back I marked 2/3. 2/3 of 6 is 4, and on the front part I mark half, which is 3 inches. Now I will be drawing that line like this to join the side, and for the front also I will do the same thing. Now this new line that I just drew, I will divide the line into 2 equal parts. What I have here is 5, so I'll divide it into 2 equal parts, which is 2.5, and I will mark. And at this point, I will come in by 3/8 of an inch. By 3/8 of an inch. And then I will draw the curve. Did you see how I am drawing that curve? When I was learning how to sew, sleeves used to be my worst nightmare. I don't like sleeves until I get this formula. All right, for the front, I will go half of that line also, and I will come inside by 3/4. This is a 0.75 of an inch. Then I will draw the curve. So just watch as I complete the cap height of my sleeve. And I must say that if you don't want to do that long calculation, it's actually not a long calculation, you can just measure your biceps directly on the person. That is, you measure where the biceps is. You should know that by now that the biceps is at that armhole, the place where the lower part of your armhole. So you can just measure your cap height and your biceps. When you measure the biceps, the fattest part of the person's arm, then you can get the biceps length. That is this straight line. So basically this is all to it. I'm just trying to dress the curve. Now it depends on what you want to do with your sleeve. What type of sleeve are you adding your curve? That is it a long sleeve that will have like a curve, or is it a 3/4 sleeve? Is it a cap sleeve? Is it a bishop sleeve? Whatever it is, now you amend to your taste. We'll still do some sewing exercise so that you will understand the different type of sleeve and how to cut. This is me trying to measure my curve at that point. Then whatever it is, I will just put the measurements using that center. I will divide the measurement into 2. For example, mine is, I'm using 8, so 4 inches to the right, 4 inches to the left, and I will connect it to that biceps line. If you are sewing like a bishop sleeve, you open up your sleeve like this, the way I'm doing, depending on the length and then how wide you want the sleeve to be. You just open it. you open it. If it is a 3/4 sleeve, you reduce the length. If it is a cap sleeve, you just amend it and do whatever you want to do with your sleeve. All right, basically this is how to draft a basic sleeve. I hope it is simple enough and it is beginner friendly. Now if it is a puff, you increase your cap height. You see the way I'm trying to show you that that is, you just increase your cap height so that your cap will be very much, it will be full and you'll be able to gather it. So let me just cut out the basic pattern so that you see how it looks like. I hope you have learned something again today. Tomorrow is yet another day. Don't forget and come to class. Don't forget to come to class tomorrow, and I will be learning or teaching another interesting topic. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. I must not forget to tell you that this pattern does not have sewing allowance or seam allowance. So when you are drafting yours, is either make sure you had your seam allowance to it. If not, it will be too tight. So always remember your sewing allowance is very, very, very important.